Okay, so time for the run up now. So just going to rev the engine up, do a mag check. So about 1700 RPM. Ooh, jeez, okay. Looks like we've something's definitely not right with the engine here. I think we've cooked it somehow. Well, that'll do it. Looks like crankshaft and starter is toast. Most likely due to the damaged propeller, which because of the imbalance must have caused some critical engine damage there. Lucky we didn't take off, I guess. And off the brakes. And we're looking for about 70 knots or so before we rotate. Add some rudder, add some rudder, add some rudder. Okay, that should be good enough. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Wow. Just noticed that my airspeed indicator is not indicating. Tapping on the glass, but nothing's happening. Hello and welcome back. This is the A2A Simulations Bonanza. So I've finally gotten around to reviewing this aircraft, and this is going to be a first look video today. Just going to have a bit of a play around and see what this aircraft is all about. Now, I've been doing some reading on this aircraft, and I have actually heard about this aircraft since probably I was growing up even, I guess. It's got quite a bit of history, this aircraft. Obviously, it's a post-war airplane that was built by the Beech Aircraft Corporation, mostly for pilots returning from the war, and the unique VTOL configuration that you can see there makes this aircraft very, very unique indeed, both from a visual and also handling and flight perspective. So this aircraft itself was released by A2A Simulations a fair while back. It was only patched in, I think, September last year or thereabouts. I'm running the latest patch version, which includes quite a few little bug fixes and whatnot. So what better time to actually take a look at it. So as you can see here, there's quite a lot of attention to detail as per usual for any A2A Simulations aircraft. These guys have done a fantastic job once again. This is obviously within the Flight Simulator X simulation. They do produce this aircraft for P3D as well, the simulation by Lockheed, but we'll be looking at it within Flight Simulator X today. So this aircraft is very sleek, very heavy. It's quite a handful. It's very warbird-like, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart. So like I said before, it was actually designed for pilots coming back from the war. So it's got a lot of the World War II sort of warbird feel to it. It's got cowl flaps as well, which, you know, immediately kind of show you that this thing kind of means business. You can see also that it's got a tapered wing design, just looking here from the top. So it's got some very good stall characteristics. I will do a quick little stall mid-flight later on in this video, just to show you guys what it's all about. But you will see how the VTOL configuration has been modeled very, very well for actually what seems very realistically anyway. So we'll go into a little bit more about that soon. So first, let's hop in and let's have a look and see what this aircraft is all about. So we'll do a bit of a walk around and then we'll get going. So this aircraft is actually a used aircraft. So in the simulation you can choose whether you want a brand new aircraft or a used one. Inside you can see that they've definitely put heaps of attention to detail on this aircraft. So you can see the texture detail, the interior, the seats, the door handles, just everything here has such attention to detail, and as usual the sounds that go along with this. You can see here the stickers on the window. This has been quite a talking point by a lot of people as well. You can just see the adhesive marks there on the stickers. The gauges themselves, there's a new feature there. You can actually tap on the gauges like I'm doing there. So, and each gauge seems to just have a different little window or glass tapping sound to it as well. Even the cylinder head, the cylinder temps, the fuel gauges, you can see as I tap away there that the needles kind of jitter around a bit. So that's a new feature with this Accu-sim aircraft that the gauges themselves can wear out and fail as well. As usual, you've got the usual switch physics as well, and they've got their own unique sounds. So we'll go ahead and proceed with doing a walk around in just a second, but I just wanted to show you just some of the new features that have included within this Accu-sim aircraft. It's not like some of the previous Accu-sim aircraft from A2A at all. It's got some really nice new features here. So yeah, we'll do our walk around in just a second. Just want to show you just a bit of the interior, and we'll do a flight today from Walter Sutton's Airfield to Stark's Twin Oaks. Okay, so let's open the hangar. You'll see here that there's two engine choices. We've got the IO 520 cubic inch as well as the 550 cube engine, both made by Continental. We will just stick with the 520 cubic inch engine today with 285 horsepower. You've got your usual engine heaters, you've got your tip tanks, which we won't be installing today. You can see here that there's now, you need to inspect the aircraft manually just by clicking the inspect button before it will show you any details. You'll see there it says the aircraft is not inspected, and it won't give you any details as to the gremlins within the aircraft until you perform an inspection. So just before we do that, I just want to show you how you can select the used option there. So that's what I've actually selected. So that's why the aircraft is actually kind of second-hand, if you will. So it's got quite a few thousand hours on the airframe. It's not new by any stretch of the imagination. So going back into the hangar, you'll see there there's a few options there. You've got the instrumentation inspection option as well. But before we do that, we'll just go ahead and look at the engine. You can run a compression test as usual, and we'll see that all 6 cylinders are in a pretty good state. You can change the oil as normal per some of the other Accu-sim aircraft. Whoops, I think I've just removed the curtains there. You can remove and reinstall the curtains as well. I think we'll keep them on for today's flight at least and just see how we go. They do affect the visibility a little bit, I guess. They're not actually functional in any other way, I guess, apart from perhaps blocking out the sun in some of the angles, I guess. Okay, you've got the spark plug option as usual for Accu-sim aircraft. You've got the two options there, the massive electrode and the fine wire. Not going to touch the spark plugs today. You can perform engine overhaul as usual if your engine is completely toast. Now just doing an inspection to see, because currently the aircraft's a bit of an unknown quantity, so after every flight you do need to do an inspection, otherwise it won't show you the condition. You can see there that there's some instrumentation issues there. Oil temp gauge reading a bit high, airspeed gauge a little bit fast. It's important to pre-flight your plane, it says. Now the left aileron hinge needs to be repaired. So you would have seen at the start of this video, and I've included more outtakes at the back of this video as well, in detail. This is actually my second flight, I guess you could say, in this aircraft. My maiden flight was sort of, yeah, let's just say it was quite interesting. Did have some issues, but we can see there that the aileron, the left aileron, does need to be repaired. But yeah, you will see that there's some problems that I encountered with the aircraft on its maiden flight with the crankshaft and the starter, both of which I've since repaired before going on our second technical flight today. So before we continue, just quickly show you the instrumentation report. So you can see there the airspeed indicator is worn out, as well as the oil temp as well. So that just means that because they're in yellow, they're indicated there that they could fail intermittently, and they could just outright fail. Anyway, won't touch those today. Other things I'm not really going to touch is the payload. So you'll see there, I just brought the payload screen up. Just the pilot today, and no additional luggage. So let's start on our walk around. So first thing to do is remove the controls lock, of course. Make sure that we've got free movement with the controls. Being a V-tail design as well, very unique in that the rudder and the elevators are within the same control surfaces. So just remove the control yoke there visually so that I can flip on the batteries. And just going to check that we've got good indication on our fuel gauges there. And our fuel selector, unlike the Comanche, you cannot choose both tanks at once. You can only draw fuel from one tank, so either the left or right tanks. Now, as mentioned, there's no tip tanks today. It says there to extend the flaps, so just doing that now. You'll notice a clunk as it hits the limit. Yep, so flaps are working well. You can actually tap, whoops, just hit the landing gear there by accident. Yes, so you can click on pretty much every gauge. Now it says the ignition off, just make sure that's off. Battery switch off again as we step outside. Okay, so first things first, the right wing. Just want to make sure that the aileron controls and hinges, I guess, are fine. I think there's something going on here with my walk around. It's kind of lagging. The messages that I'm seeing, hang on, it's saying navigation lights. Hang on, these are not on. Just one moment, just going to hop back inside and flip on the navigation lights. That being the let's do pitot, hit, strobe, nav, and taxi, landing, and beacon. Okay, and you get that nice little sound, I guess. That's the strobe light whirring away underneath the fuselage. We'll see that in just a sec. Okay, so yeah, you can see there the walk around, I think, appears to be a little bit misaligned, at least on my simulation. I am running a third-party camera add-on, so that could be why. So ignore that for the moment whilst I go through my walk around. So just checking the fuel levels in the right wing tank there, checking the navigation lights. I've got our tie downs here and our wheel chocks, so I need to get rid of both of them. So let's do that. So right hand tie down and right hand wheel chock as well. Okay. Okay, next is the nose. Check propeller for any damage, or just make sure it's secure, I guess. You can see there the landing lights are nicely illuminated. This is all actually drawing battery power from the plane, so I don't want to keep these lights on for too long. Can check the oil here as well. So let's go ahead and do that. You can see that it's almost full and the color ain't so bad. So we won't touch the oil today. Just rechecking the landing lights there, all looks good. Okay, up to the nose of the aircraft, you can do a sample drain and inspection of the fuel, just to make sure there's no excessive moisture or anything like that. Water in the fuel, don't want that. All looking good underneath the left wing as well. You can go ahead, you can see there the strobe light just whirring away. That's what that sound is, that little motor sound. Left hand fuel tank looks good, visual inspection. And of course on the left wing we have our wheel chocks, which we will remove from the left wheel, and the left hand tie down as well. And just a cursory glance of the leading edge of the left wing. Everything appears to be good. Now the stall warning, pitot tube cover, get rid of that. Stall warning appears to be nice and free. And also the, of course, the pitot heat as well, which is fine. You do have to turn that on, which I did obviously first before you can check the heat. All looking good, I must say. Left hand navigation lights looking good. Left wing tip. I was just going to say before, my propeller was damaged in the outtake before. That's why you were seeing that vibration, and that's what actually caused issues with the engine. So anyway, we'll keep on going. Left wing aileron, and wing in general. So you can see all the bolts there appear to be fine. And checking the flap condition. Now the flap hinges, or aileron hinges, I guess. I think these are the flap hinges. I can't actually see anything wrong here, to be honest. I'm not really too sure what I should be looking at. I guess any missing bolts and things like that. If I'm flying through this and you guys have noticed that anything really glaringly obvious that I've missed, please leave a comment below. But I couldn't see anything about the left aileron hinge that seemed to indicate a problem. Okay, just removing the rear tail tie down and checking the tail, the unique V-tail hinge. Hinges look good, linkages look good, all the bolts appear to be in place. And checking the trim tab, I believe. Okay, just going ahead and locking the luggage compartment. Nice and secure. Okay, back inside now. So at this point we've done the walk around outside, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn off all these lights again, just for the moment, because they are draining the battery and we do need some juice to start the aircraft. In the outtakes you'll see what happens if you drain the battery too much. You will kill the battery. Okay, so you can see here all the throttle mixture and propeller controls appear to be working well. I am using my CH Products throttle quadrant as usual. Right, okay, so you can see there it says cabin is hot, so it's sitting in here. It's quite a warm day, it's about 33 degrees Celsius. So upon entering the cabin it says pre-flight complete, passengers brief, we don't have any. Seatbelts, they're not modeled. Flaps up, so go ahead and do that. Confirm that the flaps go all the way up. Perfect. Neutralize the control there on the flaps. Now, circuit breakers. These are actually modeled in the simulation as well. If any of these are popped out, they indicate a problem with that electrical circuit. Typically, it's like a resettable fuse. All the circuit breakers appear fine there. They're all pushed in. Autopilot, rotating beacon on, fuel selectors, desired tank, gear switch down. Okay, so let's do the rotating beacon. Gear switch is good. Engine starting. Okay, mixture rich. So let's go through the engine starting procedure. You need full rich mixture and full throttle in order to get the fuel flow. Now we're not going to start the engine just yet. We'll turn on the alternator as well. Battery's already on. We watch for basically fuel flow into the green zone, and then we flip off the fuel pump again. So fuel pump on, watch for fuel flow into the green zone to about, I don't know, halfway, I guess, around that area there, and then quickly turn the fuel pump off. That will prime the engine. So here we go. And there it goes. Oh, into the green zone, Okay, stop. It's quite easy to flood the engine on this aircraft, as I've seen. I've only started it about probably 2 times so far. So now we crack the throttle back to 1/4, and hopefully we haven't flooded the engine. Okay, so now with that done, we can see here oil pressure. Just going to tap on that, so hopefully that gauge works. If you look closely there, you'll see the oil temp gauge is already indicating it's clearly faulty. Right, and here we go. Let's start her up. Engage the starter, and hopefully she starts. Now I've got 1/4 throttle on. Now if it doesn't start, probably means that it's probably flooded. Okay, it looks like it might be flooded, so Not going to waste the battery too much more. So I'm going to go full lean on the mixture. Okay. And I'm going to go full throttle on the throttle. Just turn off the light, the rotating beacon there, not to waste any more power. Okay, so I'm just engaging the starter now with the throttle at the full setting to hopefully clear out all the excess fuel from the carburetor. There we go. And I just saw the door close there. That's pretty cool. Okay, now quickly add mixture. Reduce the throttle down. And verify we've got oil pressure and it's not lying to us. Very good. Okay. So just idle the engine about 1200 RPMs or so. Don't want to bring it to about under 800 because that's when you risk fouling the spark plugs and you definitely don't want that. Okay, just going to lean out a little bit on the ground and let her idle for a few minutes just to warm up the engine. Now that the engine's running, alternator switch is already on, so let's go ahead and switch on our lights again. Let's make sure our ignition is in both for the magnetos. Avionics on. Verify the ammeter, so the alternator is charging. Oil pressure still good. Not sure I can trust the oil temp, but hey, it looks okay, I guess. Cylinder head temperature still too early. It is showing a little bit of indication there. Fuel gauge is looking good. We've got full tanks. Okay, so open the cowl flap fully because we're on the ground. And so let's begin our taxi procedure. So radios need to be turned on, transponder turned on. I don't have any fancy radios today, no sort of GPS or anything like that. Okay, let's check out this door. Ooh, look at the curtains are actually moving there. I think the door's not locked. Hang on. Still not locked. Hang on. Oh, that's right. There's a little lock here. There we go. Cool. Okay, door is secure. Excellent. Right, so we can begin our taxi. We've got, just close our little hatch here by the window. Okay, all looking good so far. Park brake, don't need that. Brakes, test them. So just rudder's looking good. Let's go ahead and start our roll, and we'll test out our brakes. It says lights is required. I've just turned on all my lights pretty much, of course, except for the landing lights and whatnot. Okay, so now that we're moving, let's go ahead and test out the brakes. Let's get her into a straight line and stop. Okay, brakes appear to be working well. So let's continue moving, and we'll start our run-up shortly. Okay, so we're lined up pretty much on the runway, just checking our fuel levels again before we start our run-up. Okay, so to do the run-up, basically 1700 RPM or thereabouts. Just increase the prop control there, hang on a sec. Dial her back to 1700 RPM and check the magnetos. Before we do that though, let's hang on, check the oil pressure, cylinder head, oil temperature, and ammeter. It says okay, done. Okay, so the magnetos, so let's run through them. Left, right, and both. Okay, not much drop there, very good. Prop cycle, just going to reduce the prop RPM there. Just do it once. It's a warm day, it's not like the oil is going to be congealed and all that sort of bad stuff going on. Don't need that. Don't think that's happening. All good. Just going to bring the yoke back into visual view again for the moment so that we can verify that we've got free movement on the yoke. Appears to be fine. And checking out everything else here. Fuel flow is looking good. Let's go ahead and announce our takeoff.
Whiskey Alpha 7 Niner traffic runway, straight out departure.
So we're doing a straight out departure today. We are not coming back here. As I mentioned earlier in the video, towards the start of the video, we are flying to Stark's Twin Oaks today. So just a short little flight from Walter Sutton's airstrip here. Make sure that everything is strapped in. Line up on the runway. Everything's secure. Okay, so fuel pump off. Cowl flaps open, yep, they're open. Engine gauges we've checked already. Okay, let's slowly advance the throttle. Let's make sure that we've got full rich, prop full, RPM full. Here we go. And off the brakes. Now we get 2700 RPM from this motor. And we're looking for about 70 knots or so before we rotate. Just try and add some rudder there. Add some rudder. Okay, that should be good enough. Rotate. Wow, it's yawing quite a lot here. Look at that. It's definitely quite a handful already. Okay, gear up. Got the firewall pinned. Sorry, the throttle pinned to the firewall. Too much going on right now. Okay, just going to get some safe altitude here before we start doing anything too crazy. But yeah, I can already feel the aircraft. It's definitely a handful. I've got the yoke a little bit tilted to the right there. The V-tail is definitely interesting. It introduces some interesting sort of handling characteristics to the aircraft. That's the takeoff page there on the notes. You can see there, rotate at 77 knots, positive climb, gear up, flaps up, climb out 96 knots, so we're pretty much doing that speed at the moment. Just going to turn the plane over in the general direction of Stark's Twin Oaks. Look at the oscillation that you've got going. I touched the rudder just a little bit, and you can see how the V-tail just... I think there's definitely a loss of stability, I guess, having the V-tail, but it's definitely, I guess it gives more authority as well, in some ways. They've described it as being more like a warbird in its handling. I've noticed that the nose does like to drop in the turns quite a bit, so you do have to keep on top of that. It's definitely a very interesting flyer. Okay, cylinder heads temps are coming up. Probably, I'm just going to close the cowl flap for now, see how we go. I do have full throttle, well, not really full throttle, but full RPM, and just going to adjust the manifold pressure here to about climb setting. Doing about 23 inches at the moment. Just sort of going to dial back the prop RPM just a little bit. See there. Okay, just going to introduce a little bit more cowl flap just to keep the engine on a nice, so it's not running too warm or too cold. Okay, so here's a alternate view of the aircraft. I set up this camera before we took off using my third-party camera tool. And you'll see there the unique operation of the V-tail. The rudder and the elevator controls are integrated. They certainly have quite a bit of authority over the aircraft. But being in a V configuration, there's definitely that oscillation that's going on. Very interesting. So today we'll be climbing to around 7,500 feet. I'm not going to go too high. Stark's Twin Oaks is not too far away. So it should be a nice quick flight. Forgot to plug in my headphones, hang on. There we go. It's a little bit quieter. You can probably all hear me a little bit better. So A2A Simulations have done a fantastic job once again on this aircraft, and probably my new favorite as well, I think. It's definitely with the gauge physics, and not just the 3D gauges, which is quite normal I guess for other Accu-sim aircraft, but just the fact that you can tap the gauges and whatnot, and they've all got their own physics. Very nice indeed. Just testing out the rudder again and the roll characteristics of the aircraft. Definitely very unique. Just touching the rudder slightly, you can see how it oscillates there, and see how the nose wants to drop even in the slightest roll. So definitely something to keep an eye out on. Just looking at the cylinder head temps here, they are rising. Oil temps a little bit high, not too bad. Fuel flow, RPM, oil pressure is all good. We're drawing from the right hand tank, so we can see the fuel gauge on the right. It's coming down a little bit, no problems. Very clean flyer, very solid rumble from the engine. Quite a warm day today in the simulator. Oil temps are actually a little bit elevated, but not too bad. Again, I don't really trust that oil temp gauge anyway, seeing as it's faulty. Okay, just want to try, we're pretty much almost at 7,500 feet now, so just going to try and lean a little bit for economy and reduce the RPMs on the engine. We can see there from the gauge there for the fuel flow that we're pretty much almost red line. So let's start by reducing the prop RPM a little bit and just leaning the engine. Not too much, mind you. We're still in the upper range of the fuel flow for cruise, and we're doing about 20, we're pulling about 20 manifold inches of pressure. Just testing out the stall characteristics here, nice and quick. So we'll see how it behaves at the limit. Get a bit of buffeting there and some turbulence. It definitely upsets the aircraft, but I would say because it's got a tapered wing design, the stall is not nearly as severe as it would be with a Hershey bar, as they call it, wing layouts, which is where the leading edge and trailing edge are parallel. So the tapered wing design on this aircraft is a good thing. Okay, we're just settled into a nice cruise here. We're almost 8,000 feet now actually, so we'll just take it easy now as we head on over to Stark's Twin Oaks. Okay, just going to start our descent now. We're pretty much in the region of Stark's Twin Oaks, our destination airfield. So I've closed up the cowl flaps and just starting our descent now. Just realized the curtains themselves, if you look carefully, you can actually see through them, and you can see the ground through parts of the curtain. Anyway, whatever. Going to call final shortly and begin our landing procedure. Okay, Airfield is ahead of us, so just going to call final now.
Twin Oaks traffic beach, November 22D, Quebec is on final. Runway 20 to land.
And gear down. Warning extinguished. I can see 3 green lights. Flaps down. Just gonna eyeball the flaps, fluke the flaps, I guess. Could probably bring them down a little bit more. We are going quite fast still. Okay, I've got the throttle fully back. We need to slow down, slow down, slow down. We're going too fast. Going too fast, too fast. This might be a bit of a rough landing, folks. Coming in way too hot. Gonna do my best here. Don't want to do a go around, don't want to go around. Slow down, slow down. That was rough. Okay, brakes, 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 brakes. Hard on the brakes now. Can feel the rubber biting into the tarmac, or can hear it anyway. Okay, let's add some RPM. Beautiful sounds there from the motor. As we leave the runway and make our way to the parking area. That wasn't a great landing, I'll admit. I definitely need more time, more stick time, or more yoke time with this aircraft. This is technically my second landing and my second real flight, so really I should call this video the second look, but anyway. Yes, so a very beautiful aircraft from A2A Simulations, the Bonanza. I'm just going to open the cowl flaps there fully to ensure that we stay nice and cool on the ground. The engine does anyway.
Twin Oaks Traffic Beach, November 228, Quebec, runway vacated.
Should have announced that before, but anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to park on the grass here on the left. I'm going to swing it around to the right and then do a pushback. So let me know what you think of the video of the aircraft. If you want to see more of this in the future, leave a comment below. Like if you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, if you enjoy this type of content as well. So yes, a very beautiful aircraft indeed. I'm glad I applied the patch as well. It was only released, the patch was only released in September of last year, so good time to review the aircraft, I think, now that a few of the niggles have been sorted out. You can hear this, the beacon underneath the aircraft. Just going to unlock the door there and begin our shutdown procedure. Let's rev the engine up a little bit, lean it out just a touch, and pull the mixture out fully. You'll notice the instrument panel there vibrates a little bit. In the outtakes that you'll see shortly, you'll see the panel vibrates quite a lot. That's how you know there's an issue with the aircraft as well. I didn't pick up on that in my outtake. You'll see all that shortly. Okay, so just going to go ahead and turn the lights off. Very well done. So we'll begin our pushback to the grassed area. And leave it on the grass here as we conclude our flight. Okay. Let's go ahead and turn off the alternator and battery, and ignition off. I'm just going to add the wheel chocks, not the tie downs for now. Very beautiful aircraft, inside and out for sure. Open the door up. See the nice shadowing there on the door. Just up here, I forgot to mention, you do have ventilation controls, so you can adjust the amount of air, the direction of the air coming in, the amount of air, the little fan switch there as well. The battery's off now anyway, but if the battery is on, that's the interior light there. And coming down here, you've also got a ventilation little wheel as well. Haven't really tried this out yet, but you can actually adjust the temperature. If the cabin's too hot, you can try and introduce more air and whatnot into the cabin. Okay, so thanks for watching. What you're about to see shortly is just some outtakes. So the outtakes are from my maiden flight. There's a few little systems there that I didn't check when I acquired this aircraft for the first time when I installed it. You'll see there that the engine actually fails just before I take off. So hang around for that one. You'll see like examples of a weak battery and airspeed indicator that has failed and whatnot. So yes, I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. Please leave a comment below for anything else you'd like to see in the future. And we'll see you in the next one. So just trying to start the engine now, and come on, might be flooded, I think. Come on, oh no. Oh, looks like we got a flat battery. Excellent. The panel appears to be shaking quite a little bit. I did hear that they've got a lot of cool gauge physics and panel physics. Perhaps that's the doesn't seem right though. But anyway, we'll push on and do our run up shortly, and then perform our takeoff. Okay, so time for the run up now. So just going to rev the engine up and do a mag check. So about 1700 RPM. Ooh, jeez. Okay, looks like we've something's definitely not right with the engine here. I think we've cooked it somehow. Well, that'll do it. Looks like crankshaft and starter is toast. Most likely due to the damaged propeller, which because of the imbalance must have caused some critical engine damage there. Just noticed that my airspeed indicator is not indicating. I'm tapping on the glass, but nothing's happening. Looks like we've got a gauge failure. Interesting. Something else to go wrong anyway.